Hello guys, hi. This is another optional video I'm making today. I hope I won't tremble too much because I'm using my hands and my arm to record and film myself, whatever. So this video was basically requested by some of the students who asked me to make some research about the story behind Once Upon a Time, which is a movie that was released, I think it was last year. And so I made my little research. The point of this job not being telling you about the story, because I mean you can watch it, or maybe you can read the synopsis online. The most important being explaining the context and focusing on the background of the story, talking about the hippie movement and Charles Manson story. I will not go in deep lines with Charles Manson because I don't think you need to know every single thing about him. It would be kind of, I wouldn't say insane, but it would be uncomfortable maybe to try to explain his insanity. Of course, the moment when I decide to record and film, my cat has decided to go in her litter. So we'll try and ignore that. So just a little point about Once Upon a Time. Sorry if I'm trembling, but just focus on my words, not on the image that is moving. So Once Upon a Time was released in 2019. Okay. She's so cute. Okay, in 2019, it was directed by Tarantino, who is a very, very famous producer. He made Kill Bill, in case you don't know who this man is. And some of the actors are Brad Pitt, DiCaprio, Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn in The Joker. Dakota Fanning and Luke Perry. Luke Perry used to play in Beverly Hills, for those who like the classics. If ever you can consider that like a classic. Okay, so the synopsis. The story takes place in 1969 in Hollywood. I read my notes because of course I don't know everything like. It was at the peak of the hippie movement, and the two main characters are Rick Dalton, who used to play in cowboy series, and his stuntman, Cliff Booth. Just in case you don't understand what a stuntman is, it's good girl, yeah. Okay, so a stuntman is a man who plays in movies, and he does the acrobacies, he does all the action scenes and the fights, and he's paid for that, he or she, because all the actors pretty much have one. The actors and the actresses that don't have one there are very few of them. Usually they don't want to get injured, so they pretty much all have a stuntman, and this is I would say a very interesting job, because once you are the stuntman of a very famous actor or actress, they're gonna keep you until their career gets to an end. So it's very, very interesting. It's actually super interesting to know what they do and to see how scenes are organized and how they get mistaken, and how they take the place of the real actor. So it's going pretty far. They get trained and they get exercises to physically look exactly the same, so that if you look at them from the back, or even from a distance, you clearly have the feeling that it's the real actor. I know that Daniel Craig, who plays James Bond, likes to play a maximum of actions. That's the reason why he was planning to stop. He has a stuntman, but he's one of the actors that really tries to play a maximum of actions. But of course, most of them don't want to take risks, so they actually have a stuntman. Where was I? So they are overtaken by the new Hollywood and its expectations. They don't understand the hippie movement, nor what's going on with the new guru, Charles Manson, because of course he is mentioned in the movie. Oh, just so that you know, I didn't watch the movie, so I'm a very, very bad analyzer. But I did my research. I tried to explain the best I could. The point, once again, is really not to explain the movie, but it's really to try and explain the historical context. That was the request of the girls, of the students, if I understood things correctly. So they're completely outdated. It happens that not far from where Rick is living, there's a woman called Sharon Tate. She is Roman Polanski's wife, today known as a man who sexually aggressed or assaulted a teenager. So you cannot miss him, you cannot ignore him. Is pretty much everywhere, all over the news. Now, to get back to Tate, she got killed in 1969. She was pregnant. So we're getting into real facts, okay? Everything I'm gonna do, everything I'm gonna say is going to be absolutely real. I checked online. I have my sources that will be mentioned in the description below. So I won't mention where I got my information, but it's not coming from the sky. I got it from somewhere. So Tate got killed in 1969. She was pregnant of 8 months. And she was stabbed, should I precise, 16 times? By Manson supporters or followers. We hardly mentioned that she was not alone. There were 5 other victims with her who were with her in the house. They were friends or work partners. Okay, so hairdresser, friends, and so on. But just before getting into detail, I just wanted to come back on the hippie movement, because it's not a big part of this video. Oh my god, I hope I'm not trembling too much. It's not a big part of the video, and just wanted to make a little point about this. So the hippie movement started in the 60s. Okay, it originated in college campuses, and it spread to Canada and Britain. So it was not just in the US, and it started, and its peak was in San Francisco, California. It's still something that is very present today. So you need to know that. They were absolutely engaged in, against the Vietnam War that took place between 1954 until 1975. They're normally not engaged in politics, but for that point, they were really, really against it. The point for the hippie movement was that, I feel, it's soaring. Okay, so the point about the hippie movement is that they rejected mainstream American life. What does that mean? It means the average American life that they thought was about materialism and dominated by repression. Yeah, I mean, whenever you have justice somewhere and police and those things and political hierarchy and all that stuff, a social organization, you need repression. They did not feel concerned by the middle class, which actually was supposed to represent the US society. What else did I write? They favored, in terms of styles and in terms of fashion, they favored long hair and dresses in psychedelic flashy colors. Men grew beards. Most of them wore sandals. They were into plants like homeopathy. They had vegetarian diets, and they advocated nonviolence and love. They are at the origin of the very famous expression, make love, not war. And optionally, they were into drugs. So just a little point about the Vietnam War, since we're talking about it. The Vietnam War took place in 1954 and ended in 1975. I'm not going to get into details concerning that, but I'll just tell you globally what this war was about. It opposed the communist government of North Vietnam and its allies in South Vietnam against the government of South Vietnam and its allies, principally the United States. And it also was an extension, it was said that it was also an extension of the Cold War between the US and Russia and its respective allies. So the reason why the hippies were against the Vietnam War was for two things. Number one, they were against dead people. They were against the fact that some young people would go to war and die. They were against violence as well. But also, they were against, as I explained earlier, hierarchy. They were against this idea that there was an authority that was giving you order, that was telling you to do what to do. Yeah, that's correct. And so they didn't like the idea that you were forced to do something or that some people would tell you what to do. So they absolutely hated that. That's the reason why they demonstrated a lot against that. Now, getting back to Charles Manson. It's like a rally. Okay, so Tate, let's go back to what's her name? Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate. So Sharon Tate was murdered in 1969, but it's only in 1977 that there was the first accusations towards Charles Manson. Why? Because he was so clever, so smart, to escape exactly when he was supposed to, plus he was taking a lot of decisions that his supporters or followers would apply for him, that it took a long time before discovering that he and his family were responsible for those murders. Okay, so whenever I'll say the notion of family, I'll just do that sign because that's the name he used to give to his group. And it's really a concept that was very important to him. So Charles Manson settled a murderous campaign with the Manson family cult. Can we also notice that he died in 2017? So originally Manson was a criminal. He was into petty crimes. So not significant crimes, but significant enough to get to jail, and then be released repetitively. Okay, so he regularly went to jail when he was younger, and he was released and started his little crimes again, and then got back to jail. He had 100 followers. Okay, so what was the Manson family about? When I say family, once again, I'm not referring to his normal, regular family, wife, children, and stuff. I'm talking about his group, okay, once again. So the whole family was about sharing passion for unconventional lifestyle with a regular and massive use of drugs. I'm not going to precise what drugs they used, because we don't really care, but it was all about this. They moved from San Francisco to San Fernando Valley. Amongst the followers, there was a small group of easily influenced and fanatic young girls. This group is very important for the rest of the story. Okay. Without getting into detail, he was talking like a prophet, as someone who knew exactly what he was talking about. We call this a harbinger. A harbinger, it's a person that is like a prophet. And he was announcing a race war. Race like Caucasian people, black people, and so on, okay? Persuaded he knew things people or common people, everyday people, didn't know about the future of the planet. He was taking many different drugs, and he got inspired by other sects, because you can consider that he was the head of a sect, a harbinger, but you can also say guru. It's also making sense in that case. Just one thing before I continue. You have to know that in the United States, the sects are not recognized as such. They're recognized as religious communities. It's only in European places that they're recognized as sects, and so not permitted. So he got inspired by other sects like Scientology, the Book of Revelations, which it's not really a sect. It just reveals the concept of Armageddon, and also more cult churches, such as the Church of the Final Judgment, which is also a sub-community of Christianism. He was also inspired by a song that was called Helter Skelter by the Beatles, which means chaotic. I think it's quite representative from what's gonna happen next. And also, it can also mean a spiral slide. A spiral slide. A slide, it's where the kids are getting at the top and then they slide until the bottom. I don't know if that makes sense. But whatever. I think it was more about chaotic, or maybe it was like a metaphor with spiral slide. If you have the opportunity to go and listen to Helter Skelter from the Beatles, have a check. Listen to it. I was very curious, so I listened to it. And when Charles Manson was hearing something like a provocation or an invitation to a race war, I didn't find any word, any metaphor, not even a meaning, or I don't know, anything related to war. So I really don't know how we got there. But I mean, art, you can understand and interpret as much as you want. Okay, now what happened with Manson's story? I think I didn't forget anything. Okay, so now you have to follow because it's going to be complicated. All right, so really, really focus and concentrate. You ready? Okay. How did we get to this murder, this mass murder, including Sharon Tate? Can I just precise before I start the story that I am not excusing what he did. I am not saying he's not responsible. I think that the more pervert a killer is, the worse it is. So he didn't do anything concerning Sharon Tate, but he's responsible for the people who were there and did what they did. Okay, so ready for the story? Let's go. We have this man whose name is Dennis Wilson, and he allowed the Manson's family to live in his place for a while. Now, how did he get in touch with this Manson's family? It's very, very random, and it's really stupid, should I say. One day, there were those two girls from the Manson's family who were hitchhiking because the Manson's family was constantly moving here and there. And sometimes they would stay in a place, other times they would move. So in this situation, there were those two girls from the Manson's family who were hitchhiking, and Wilson took them in his car, and talking and, driving, they asked him if they could stay in his place, and so it ended up that Wilson got all the family in his place. Okay, so that's how it went. Okay. Manson made some music, in Wilson's place, because Manson was creating music. He liked to create music. So he made some music in Wilson's place, and some of his music was used by a very famous American band, but only a couple of the melodies. Okay. Now, Manson got the chance. So just before we move on, because I mean, it's once again, it's really complicated. So you have Manson, and now you have Dennis Wilson in the landscape. All right. Now, we're gonna have two other names from the same family. Okay. So forget about the rest. Manson got the chance to audition for Terry Melcher. Okay. The son of Doris Day, Doris Day was the producer of the Beach Boys in the 1960s. They were popular, they were famous, but Terry Melcher, the son of Doris Day, was not interested in signing a contract with Manson. And by extension, Doris Day was living at Polanski's house. Okay, so let me rephrase that for you. Manson auditioned for Terry Melcher, who was the son of a very, very famous producer, Doris Day. And you have to keep this in mind. Melcher was not interested. He was not interested by Manson's music. And the fact is that later, Doris Day, who was in charge of the Beach Boys, used some music from Manson still, without any contract, in some of his albums. Well, some of the Beach Boys albums. So I don't know if there was an agreement or something, but Melcher was not interested in signing a contract with Manson. So Manson was bittersweet. He was upset. And he remembered that Doris Day, the dad, was living at Polanski's house, which will be the house that will be Polanski's house when the murder will happen. So basically, just to cut the story short, when the people who went to Polanski's house when they went there, they were not expecting Polanski's wife, and they were not expecting the friends and the workmates. They were expecting Doris Day and Terry Melcher there because it used to be their house. But you know, in Hollywood, they land and they rent their house. When they have friends, they share it with people. And so the fact was that Doris Day was away and had rented the house to Polanski. Now, the reason why Roman Polanski was not present was that because he was recording a movie in a different country, or he was promoting his movie in a different country. The fact was that he was not there. He was planning to come the next day, the day after Sharon Tate was killed. And so it's absolutely all random. So Sharon Tate was not expected to be there, but she was. And so they killed whoever was in the house, even if she begged them, telling them that she was pregnant. So that's what it is. Okay, so getting back to the family, they are thought to have killed 35 people-ish, because we're not really sure. We don't exactly know. Most of their cases were never tried because there has never been any evidence they were guilty. The main murders in August 1969 against Hollywood's elite were motivated by the fact that they were beautiful people, meaning that they were the representation of successful people of Hollywood. Hollywood is usually represented by the elite, beautiful people that have succeeded in life, especially in arts, in movies, in songs and stuff. And the Manson's family was really, really against that. So they really wanted to take examples to show what they could do to those type of peoples, and they needed, you know, representatives for that. So they chose those people. I think I am pretty done. much is that? I really thought it was more than that. Yeah, so I read more. Oh, I thought I had done more than that. So this is what it is. Most of them were caught. They admitted what they did. Some of them stayed a long time in jail. Others, you know, did not. You have to know that Charles Manson hardly killed people by himself. This is, I would say, the principle of a guru. It's brainwashing the head of people and then making sure that they do what he wants. So that he's never convicted of any murder. He's like, oh, I didn't do anything. I was not even there. But having an influence over his supporters or his followers as a prophet. And that also explains the reason why, just between brackets, what's his name again? Marilyn Manson took his name. He took his name after Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson. So that's what it is. Well, I hope it brought you something. I'm a little frustrated because I thought I read much more than that, but those are the only notes that I took because maybe the rest was a little, I don't know, gloomy or something. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little page of history. I've had other ideas about the next videos I could make. And well, if you have any other ideas, just let me know. Let me know. I'll try to be as regular as possible, even though we're getting closer to the holidays and more tests to correct and stuff like that. But really let me know. I might do a video about bullying this week because my small sections, we're doing something on it. And I think it would be good for them to listen to something about bullying. So I might really take this time of making a video for all of my sections and make a video about bullying. What is bullying? How can we fight against it? Do we always have to talk to adults about it? Can we do stuff? Can you guys do stuff as teenagers? What are your alternatives? What can be your possible reactions to that? Objectively speaking, I mean. So that will be the next video. All right, so I wish you a nice day, a very, very nice day. Stay home, stay safe, and well, see you next time.